the beauty of this is it's scalable and repeatable. If we can truly provide this entry level housing in the private sector, I want to do this in Missoula and Helena and Billings or wherever.
Welcome back to the Missoula Podcast, episode 121, in studio with Ryan Frey. Ryan, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Ryan, what was the moment or the experience that created this passion inside of you to develop entry-level housing?
I think it's, the moment and experience. That's a good question. I think just realizing that my employees are people that worked around me could no longer afford housing in Missoula.
Yeah.
And I have tried many versions of trying to figure out how to provide entry-level housing. Yeah.
When did you realize the need to actually start the Upslope Group? Like, why did the Upslope Group need to exist?
The Upslope Group came out of, essentially we had so many changes here during COVID and with the Yellowstone effect and, prices just started skyrocketing. But in COVID, as a general contractor and a developer, I couldn't get people to work and I couldn't get products to build with at the time. So it just became this frustrating concept. And also then prices were just going through the roof in Missoula, 18 to 20% a year. Values were going up, which was pushing a lot of people out of the market. So I came out of that looking for, is there a different model? Is there something that we can do to fill that gap between renter and that $550,000, $600,000 house? And in conversations with my now partner in business, Arthur Keith Miller, we came up with this concept of Upslope Group, which is essentially getting housing built in a factory and shipped on site in a home ownership model.
Awesome. I want to come back to that and hear more about that. But let's go back to the beginning. Let's go way back. Where'd you grow up? Are you a native of Montana? Where was home?
I am not. I grew up in the sticks of Eastern Washington,
really?
Way up north by Canada. I like to joke that I grew up 6 miles from the border, so the real High Line, but no, maybe not. So grew up, really far out there. So I went to school in a town called Oroville, and then essentially 19 miles of that. East of that is Chesaw, and I was another 9 miles from that.
Wow.
Out in the woods. Yeah.
It's very rural.
Super rural. No electricity, no indoor plumbing.
Like one room schoolhouse, or how big was the community?
It was a 45 to 50 minute bus ride to school. So quite a trip, but you had to drive that 9 miles to the bus stop and then jump on a bus for 40 minutes to get to school.
Wow, so, every day. Wow.
Yeah. But when you don't know any different, it's normal.
Yeah. So, what'd your parents do for work? What was their background?
My mom, I lived there with my mom, and, she was part of the kind of mid-70s back to the land movement. So it was a lot of odd jobs and just living very frugal out there. Yeah.
Did you stay there all the way through middle school into high school? Yep.
All the way through high school. And went to high school in that town, Oroville, started kind of moving out at an early age because I got into sports. And so that made for really long days, and it just wasn't possible. So
what sports were you playing?
I played basketball and baseball.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where'd life take you post high school?
So being from a small town, as most people that from there know, is the only thing to do is sports really for kids. And so I was tried to, pursue basketball beyond high school. And I went to Whitworth College in Spokane to play basketball, go Pirates. And that ended up I didn't actually make the team after all. And, I had some heartbreak there, but turned out to be a good thing because, as we know, sports in college level is a full-time job. Yeah. And I got to do other things in college that I probably wouldn't have, like doing a lot of traveling, spent a semester abroad in Central America, and got to have a really exceptional college experience.
What, growing up, small town, rural Washington, what was the hope, the dream? What did Ryan want to be when he grew up?
Besides a basketball player?
Yeah.
I didn't really have much of a clue, I knew there was a big world out there, but I just didn't know how to get to it.
Yeah.
And I think college opened those doors to me more than anything. I didn't really know what I wanted to be. You know, I was of the era of Top Gun came out, so I thought it'd be cool to be part of that.
For sure.
And, you know, just trying to get whatever came my way, but I really didn't, you know, it took me a long time to figure out. I think I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be, maybe.
Being a big basketball fan, Washington 90s, who was your team? I'm assuming Seattle. Were you a Sonics fan?
Supersonics.
Supersonics. And so who was your favorite player back in the 90s?
Oh God.
I love this because you can't say Jordan or the Bulls because you're a Sonics fan. I love this.
I mean, it was. I got to actually in high school. I got to play on the Sonics floor before a Sonics game. They were actually playing the Spurs, and so I got to play a basketball game over there. They invited the small town schools, and I'm 6'5", and at that time I was the tallest kid in my whole town and around. And I remember being on that floor, and then David Robinson walked out for the Spurs, and I felt so small, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm not actually a big dude." And, you know, I think it was McMullen. I can't remember. One of those games that I got to watch the game, there was a 3-point record broken. And I think it was like 11th. And that was a big deal. Yeah. But now, of course, that's
wild. It was so fun back then with Kemp, Peyton, Detlef Schrempf, X-Man. Sonics were solid.
It's such a solid team until the Bulls.
Yeah.
You know,
I
he ran into that wall.
I love like YouTube pulling up with my son, just like Sean Kemp dunk highlights and just the authority and just fun team. So you mentioned college. You went spend a semester South America,
Central America.
Where'd you go?
Did.
What was that?
Oh man, that was great. It was kind of like a just a tour of you know, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Guatemala, a little bit in Mexico. More kind of it was kind of a part of the you know, it just had so many aspects, but history, social studies at that time, you know, it was still coming out of all the conflict in the 80s. And so there's some leftover of that. But that was really the experience that kind of opened me up to the world and gave me a big travel bug.
Yeah. So was it more vacation tour or was there some school work going on?
There was a lot of school work. I mean, not as much as if I were in school, but we had to do, you know, these reports and met a lot of different groups and organizations working in those countries. But a lot of it was like, you know, was an eye-opening experience for us. It was there's a big world out there. Yeah.
What'd you major in at Whitworth?
I have the great major of a English creative writing major.
Awesome. How are you using that today? Just kidding.
ChatGPT is doing that for me. So.
Where'd life take you post-college?
Post-college, so, you know, I had worked carpentry in the summers and worked my way through school doing that. And I got out of college with this great, you know, career or degree that opened so many doors. And I decided to go back into carpentry. I moved to Portland, and then I moved up to Seattle. And then after a couple of years, I just felt I wasn't really ready to settle down. And I decided to join the Peace Corps.
Wow.
Yeah.
So why, I mean, from small town, Washington, you go to the big city, Spokane for college.
Yep.
Why Portland?
I had an aunt that lived there. And again, I was like, okay, well, I got to see what the city stuff's about. Spokane in the, you know, early 90s was trying to be a city.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was young. I had no ties to anything. I said, well, I'm going to go to Portland. You know, I luckily had a place to stay until I could find an apartment and a job with my aunt. It was the closest big city.
Way off subject, but Hoop Fest in the 90s was the best in Spokane.
I worked at the YMCA in Spokane. I did play in Hoops Fest. We all shaved our heads and lost gloriously in the first two games.
That was awesome. It's the good old days.
Yeah.
So how did you end up in Missoula? Bridge that gap from Portland, Seattle, construction,
So I'd gone to Portland, Seattle, did a stint in the Peace Corps. Then I went to the big California after that for 8 years because I just, again, wanted to see what that was all about. But then realized, quickly that, the cost of living there is outrageous. And I wanted to get back up into a smaller college town in kind of an area where I grew up, obviously not wanting to go back to Oroville. It's just, and Missoula seemed like a right fit. So I just came up here and at one point bought 30 acres up in RLE to build my Montana dream house and slowly worked my way up here to do it.
Had you been to Missoula before, or was it kind of a...
Not really, but Missoula, when you start talking about it, everybody's like, oh, that's a great place to live. You should go there and check it out. And so I did. For a couple summers. I came up here, tooled around, between jobs and just looked at property, and got a feel for the town and decided to pull the trigger and make this my place. Yeah.
And then the Peace Corps, did you say 8 years?
2 years. 2 years in the Peace Corps. Yeah.
Where'd that come from? How did that come to be? And
I think that came from one, the desire to travel, two, to just try to do something outside myself, beyond me. And the Peace Corps seemed like a great fit for that.
Yeah.
And it certainly was. And I learned many, many life lessons from my experience there.
Where they send you, where all did you serve?
So I went down to Bolivia in South America, landlocked country, kind of in the center there. And
was that by choice, or did they send you there, or how that?
At that time, you could pick a region.
Okay.
And since I traveled in Central America and I knew a little bit of Spanish, not very much, I felt like that would be a good fit. So you could pick kind of, Latin America or Africa, but you couldn't actually pick countries or anything like that. You just didn't know until you got an envelope in the mail and it said, "This is where you're going." Like, okay, well, I don't know anything about this place. Let's check it out.
How long were you there?
About 2.5 years.
You were there 2.5 years.
Yeah.
What's one thing you experienced in Bolivia that you wish everyone back here in the U.S. could see or understand?
That's a good question. I think people, generally people, it's not what you have that makes you happy. It's kind of just who you are. So I saw some of the happiest people that were, that had a one-room house and living there. So I try to remember that in my life lessons, is just, sometimes just take a step back and realize that, what you have doesn't make who you are, and you can still be happy, but it's a struggle. Yeah.
It's a great reminder. Yeah. What's one of the weirdest or funniest things you ate or almost ate in Bolivia?
It would have to be the local delicacy, guinea pig. It tastes like chicken, but you're sitting there,
small little legs.
Yeah, that would probably be the most interesting. I think it's a very potato-based starch diet down there and stuff. So yeah.
So after 2.5 years in the Peace Corps, thought, all right, that's good. Time for a change. Coming back to the States again. I think I had a whopping $2,500 to my name that they give you when they send you out. And, I had nowhere to go, really. No, nothing. And I had a buddy, that was moving to Santa Cruz, California. I said, well, that seems like a cool place to go. And so I went down there and, ended up spending 8 years down there, started a construction company there. It was a good experience too. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's hit pause right there in your story.
Yeah.
Go to our rapid fire questions here about Missoula, Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan, what is your first initial memory of Missoula, Montana?
The thing that comes to mind is when I was coming up here and I'd probably brought my property and I was building my house, and I would come into town and I'd get the Missoulian when it was the Missoulian. And I remember the Sunday front page was some story about dogs. I can't even quite remember. Dogs playing in the park or something. And I was like, this is front page news here. This is where I want to be.
That's awesome. That's so great. What's your favorite coffee shop in Missoula?
I like Hunter Bay on Tool.
Solid. I don't know that we've had a lot of Hunter Bay as an answer. It's a great one. How about restaurant? What's your go-to?
That always changes, but right now I'm really liking the burritos at Guild.
Solid.
Yeah.
Solid. What zip code do you live in?
802.
59802.
West side.
Up the Rattlesnake?
West side.
Down west side?
Yep.
What to you, Ryan, is the weirdest part of Missoula?
I think the weirdest part is there's only one restaurant that has a river view, and just the lack of, there's a lot of pathways and places to go see the river, but there's not a lot of businesses on the river. It's neglected.
It's so funny you say that. We've talked. I got to give all credit to Ryan Montgomery from Montgomery Distillery. He brought it up on an episode. To him, the weirdest thing in Missoula is how downtown is built backwards, with all the backs of buildings are along the river, from Albertsons all the way down.
Yeah.
Nobody's facing the river.
You don't even do that river float, and you look at the back of Albertsons, and you're like, what is going in there? A weird little shack that's there with the air conditioner.
No, you're absolutely correct. Like everything should be flipped the other way with restaurants with patios looking over the river, and except they're looking over Front Street.
Right.
It's wild. That's all. What do you love the most about Missoula?
I like Missoula. No matter how much it grows, you're always going to be 10 minutes from being out of Missoula. You know, we have all the valleys. You know, you can just zip up Patty Canyon or up the Rattlesnake, or you can just get outdoors pretty easily out of here.
Yeah. I love that when you're in Missoula, you're essentially halfway to anywhere.
Yes.
You know, in the surrounding area. It's like 10, 15 minutes any direction. The resources, the outdoors, the trails, the rivers. It's Ryan, is there a particular book you've read that has made a significant impact on your life?
Beyond the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I would say there's a great book, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, ex-FBI negotiator. So it's kind of about negotiating. I do a lot of negotiating in my work. And, you know, negotiating, it's not so much getting down to the cheapest, lowest deal. It's trying to find a fair transaction for anybody. What's fair?
Creating a win-win.
Yep. A win-win.
So I'd imagine you actually use that quite a bit in your day-to-day.
I do.
Now with what you're doing.
You know, when you're purchasing a piece of land and you look at the piece of land and there's, you know, the seller has a price that either is advertised or they have in mind, but I have to look at a piece of land as a real estate developer. I say, well, what can I do with this? How many kind of units can I fit on there? And then what is the average cost a unit of land cost per unit, and what's going to cost me to bring in water, sewer, all this stuff plays into what I'm going to talk about or what I should pay for the land. And, you know, and then, but a lot of it is just figuring out what a seller's motivations are. And many times it's not money. Yeah. Yeah.
What happened, or what was the story with the transition from your contractor running a business to really going into more development? Why'd you make the change? Why was there a need for that?
Right. I think some of it was personal, you know, just a desire to control more of the process. I mean, unfortunately, being a general contractor is one of the most thankless jobs that we have out there, especially now where everything you do is $500,000. So when you have a client, it's extremely stressful for them. They're spending so much money on something, and you're trying to navigate them through that process. It's become it shouldn't be, but building has become a very stressful thing to do. But also for me, to just control, it's more creative. You can, you know, if you have a hand in designing the buildings, or you're taking this piece of dirt and you're creating something out of it, a place where a community comes and interacts and either lives or maybe works place, whatever it is. The creative side was really what drew me to developing in a lot of ways. Yeah.
And you're predominantly developing residential or just residential? Are you doing any
right now?
Commercial?
I have done, commercial, warehouses. I did some really great, flex warehouses out Expressway for a bunch of small businesses out there with a couple partners. And, I've done some apartment stuff. But right now on the development side, 100% residential.
Okay. So at the beginning of our conversation, we talked about Upslope Group and this idea to find a more affordable entry level home ownership.
Yeah.
And the concept you mentioned was building off site and bringing in. So almost a mobile manufactured home, in a sense.
Yep.
Was this your guys' idea? How did you land on this? And
we landed on it just, here I'm part of the building industry here, and we have, a tour and great homes out by the airport. Always, for the last 3 or 4 years has had a home in there, and it's amazing how far the homes themselves have come with quality and what's inside them and how they're put together. They're not that 1970s version that we think of as the tin tin walls
the
and
glue with all the paneling
all that
and
stuff that you remember from Uncle Dave's house or whatever,
where everything's flammable.
Yeah. So they're not that anymore, and realizing that the product that these places were putting out was great, and then their price point is a lot less than I can do it anymore, stick building it on site. And also they're, it's factory, so winter doesn't slow them down. There's no mold issues because they're not building out in the, 6 rainstorms that have rolled through during a build or whatever it is. So it seemed attractive in a lot of ways, but honestly, a lot of it's the price point. I can put these up for, you just can't build them for what I can put them up for.
Yeah. How did you get into that? What was the problem you were facing?
Again, it was just the cost to build,
and maybe not just you. What is the problem with housing?
I don't know if it's a problem because, everybody needs to make what they need to make. So if you have plumbers, they need to live here too. They need to make a decent wage. But when you start adding up all the components that goes into a single family house, from the cost of the land to paying everybody to paying all the materials, that's why we get to these price points we're at. And then, there's a labor shortage in the trades. So our efficiencies had gone down in stick building, whereas, if your plumbers may show up 2 or 3 weeks later than you have them scheduled because they're just stretched too thin to do anything. So the problem is, efficiencies,
throws
price,
off the project is
everything tumbles
behind, and
it's a domino effect. If one person's off and then you have to reschedule everybody, well, they say, well, I was scheduled to do this and I'll have to fit you in. And
you said the homeowner, they're spending a lot of money.
Tons of
money. There's some pressure. They want this done as quickly as possible. They expect it to be built in 24 hours,
Yeah, we've all watched those TV shows, right?
Yeah. So essentially, this model eliminates, I was going to say the middleman, but it's not so much the individual. It's eliminating the inefficiencies, which helps lower cost.
Right.
And so somebody buys the land, contacts you, and then you get the home. They design the home gets shipped in, and
and actually, so we develop the land, have the lot. It's much like a single family subdivision. You can pick out lot A, pick out model home B with finished package C. The difference is when we do it, we can, have that home and up in 3 to 4 months.
Wow.
So,
and I'd imagine it helps and saves a lot of time with permits, working with city, just other inefficiencies.
Correct. So when you do it at the factories, there's 2 versions. There's a manufactured, which is by HUD. So that's federal inspections, or there's modular, which is built to, the state code. So if we did a modular building, it would build to the IRC code that Montana uses.
Okay.
But all those inspections are done in the factory, no matter which model it is. So when it comes, you're not having a bunch of on-site inspections for that. You can just put it down and they inspect. You get the inspections of the foundation and the hookups. Essentially.
Yeah. And then looking at your website briefly, upslopegroup.com. Isn't just purchasing home. There's other development. You guys have all kinds of programs and projects going on simultaneously. Talk about those. We
are right now we are actually doing a project in Great Falls. Unfortunately not Missoula. We will do one here at some point, but we need to get a project on the ground and running. So we're currently in the capital raising stages of that project, but it's all approved and ready to go. And then other programs, there's great incentives for buyers on this stuff for purchasing options of these types of homes and that stuff. But right now we just have the one project going, and we're working hard on that one.
And you guys are raising capital.
We are. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
daunting process.
Yes. So dabbling in on the investment side.
Correct. Yep. We have, what's called a syndication investments deal, which is new to me. Everything I've done before was kind of joint ventures with people. So it's a little different model, but that's a problem that came out of, another thing that came out of COVID in Missoula and everything is the cost to do these. I used to do a lot of infill, like, some stuff, these infill housing, which was great because you could get it at a price point. The land you could buy a house, build around it. Your land costs would be pretty low, but unfortunately, the cost to do infill has gotten so high that a lot of projects don't pencil. But the cost to, go big, like what you see happening out towards the airport, is just a bigger lift than I could do. So I needed to get somewhere where I could get an entry point to do a project of any scale.
From a consumer standpoint, purchasing a home, is there equity? Do they appreciate in value, or do
they do, because again, they're not what they used to be. So if they're on a permanent foundation, there's no difference in the building. It's the same 2x6 wall studs. It's the same roofing. It's the same siding. What our model is not to have a land lease like in most of these communities where they're built off-site. It's a fee simple project. So you're buying your home and your lot. We also have amenities, so indoor pickleball court, community center, playground, dog park. Trying to create a whole community, and
that's awesome.
Hoping to repeat that process.
It's phenomenal. Looking back, just from construction, Peace Corps, Bolivia, what's maybe one or two of the life lessons you've learned that have helped mold you, shape you to who you are today, and now the outcome of the lesson you learned is, creating more affordable housing?
I think what I learned in the Peace Corps is, you go down there for 3 months of training, and then you're thrown into some community. There's a misconception of Peace Corps volunteers. You're not given any money for projects. So I was a rural sanitation volunteer. So I was learning to design and build water systems. So I had no financing. I made $330 a month, which was enough for rent, beer, and food. My life lesson I learned from that is you had to reach out to other organizations, other people, build teams with other volunteers to try to get a project going. And I think what I've learned from that is it's just tenacity and grit will get you by and get you through most everything. And you have to take risk in life to do it. So the development side is risky, but if you just grind it out, you get things done. So,
I like that. Yeah. Tenacity and grit. Yeah. Do hard things. What about a failure? Where along the way did you learn a hard lesson?
I guess a hard lesson is when you lose money on something, but I think being first in or testing the waters with, say new code, new ideas. We tried to do a project out here in Missoula when they came out with the form-based code stuff, and it was so new for everybody. We just ended up spending a good chunk of money to get a good education that we shouldn't have been that early and should have let other people test the waters first.
Was there some fear along the way? I mean, just stepping out, doing something new?
There's always fear, but as long as you do your research and be aware that whatever you're doing is going to be risky, and you're probably going to lose here for that reason. But again, it was a life lesson. Now I do, I won't do that again. But if you do your research, you get your negotiating going, and what you have, your limits of what you can pay for things. Yeah. You'll be all right. So, yeah.
Other than the project in Great Falls and hope to do something similar in the Missoula area, what is the dream? What is the future? Where do you see Upslope Group going when you look 5 to 10 years down the road?
Yeah, 5 to 10 years down the road. Hopefully I'm, somewhat out of the business, but 10 years. But no, I think the beauty of this is it's scalable and repeatable. I mean, so if we can truly provide this entry-level housing in the private sector, I want to do this in Missoula and Helena and Billings or wherever, even, Idaho, I don't know. But we do want to scale it and repeat it, because once we build these systems out, we'll have the roadmap to do it.
And it appears that it actually, the impact this has really helps young families, individuals get into quality housing, not just more affordable, but a better way of life, living and owning some property.
Exactly. I'm a strong believer in ownership. My whole development journey came out of a single house I purchased on Howell Street, and the equity from that, I then built, these little 800 square foot houses on Johnson Street, sold them for $200,000 back, about a decade ago. Yeah. And everybody said, you're crazy. 800 square feet, they were gone. But I'm a big believer in home ownership. People take pride in it. They take care of it. And also you build equity, and it's a step to the next, our houses are not forever homes, but maybe, and it could be a step in some direction.
If you had a crystal ball here, looking ahead at the future with Missoula, housing costs, economy, mortgage rates, what, with your history in the industry, what do you think the next 12 to 24 months going to look like
in terms of like housing costs and housing?
Yeah.
Prices aren't going to go down in Missoula. They've leveled off, and I think they'll continue to level off. But Missoula's, again, the beauty of Missoula is easy to get out to, but it's very constrained. We don't have, like, Bozeman can just keep cruising out west. We're constrained by infrastructure, sewer and water. So I don't see, a lot of, there's a lot of new development happening, but it's not going to affect prices, I don't think.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Ryan, thank you so much for coming in. Where can people in Missoula find you? Give us all your contact info, websites, links.
Yeah. Best way to find me, besides seeing me around town, I'm pretty recognizable, but upslopegroup.com is a website, and just ryan@upslopegroup.com is how you can find me. We're mostly on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. Great follow. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for taking the time. Wish you all the best.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you. Appreciate it.